Welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. And welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. I wanted just to go into a little flow with the guides and just a brief recap over some of the messages I've been receiving. I've been trying to do a lot more videos. I just keep getting a lot of the same information that a lot of other channelers and energy workers are also receiving. And we all have our own unique style and way of sharing it. And I feel that we also have slightly different perspectives, of course, on what the information means. And so I hope that at least this is helpful for someone, or at least you find it maybe entertaining. The fact I'm hearing, are you not entertained? The fact of it is we are all perceiving our reality in different ways. And the biggest message that's been coming through is how much can we get back to our roots of creativity, of alignment with our highest trajectory. And that is all done through being in the now moment, experiencing and feeling, and then expressing from that in the now moment. It isn't necessarily about looking at our trajectory and constantly thinking about what we should be doing. The guides are really emphasizing right now, create, create, create. And simultaneously, asking ourselves, they're inviting us to continue to ask ourselves, what do we want to create? What do we want to co-create together? We're in this very interesting, energetic soup right now, if we want to call it that. Like a sea of energy is what the guides call it. And this sea of energy is full of photonic light particles that are essentially feeding us. It's like nutrients that are coming in. And I'm hearing neutrinos, nutrients. And so a lot of people aren't even aware that this is happening, and that's okay. They're still going to receive this this nutrition if they choose to. But what the guides are kind of expressing is really encouraging us to open up to receiving these nutrients. And this requires us to do work. And that work I say that, and sometimes I get the response from people like, oh, more work. I've been doing it for years. It doesn't have to be some major work. It means ground. It means connect with the intelligent light source that is streaming through us at all times. It doesn't have to be some massive operation, is what I'm hearing. And one of the things that they want to express is get out in the sun, get into the ocean, really connecting with nature. And of course, this is something that a lot of people have been saying for a long time. And you guys know, if you're listening to this, probably how important it is to connect with nature anyways. But it's even more important because of this influx of light codes that are essentially particles that are raining down on us. We also have other particles that are raining down on us that we are countering from one perspective. I also wanted to touch briefly on that because it's easy to get pulled into the rabbit hole. I call it the truther kind of rabbit hole, and get into a place of fear. All hope is lost. This, okay, we're just being bombarded with chemicals and things like that. From one perspective, we are being bombarded by chemicals, the stuff they put on the grass, the stuff they're putting in the crops, all of this. I could go on and on and on about what we're being bombarded with, and the electrical particles too that are in the airways and things like that. But we're resilient, and human beings are not here to just go in that direction of being overwhelmed by that energy. So let me rephrase that. Essentially, what my guides have been showing me is we will evolve. So we are adjusting to all of the bombardment that is coming in. And that's why it's even more important now than ever for us to get feet in the grass, drink plenty of water, as much nutrients as possible. It can come in the form of supplements, but if you can get to your local organic farms and get the produce from them, that's of course even better. So it's finding those life hacks, right, that help us to absorb more of the good stuff and clear out the old kind of bad stuff, right? And so I know for some people it feels like we just can't get ahead, but my guides and the whole team that I tune into is like, we already are if we get out of our heads about it. And so it comes back to us being and doing and operating from our keep it simple, right? And then from that, our body will make the adjustments naturally that it needs to make. So that's something that's been coming up. This doesn't mean that we want to support for the future behaviors and, products, let's say, that aren't beneficial for the human body. However, as we are creating things, right, we're also clearing things. So think of that not only in the physical, but also in the I'm hearing the electrical. So it's like there's a lot of stuff that we could judge as bad or negative, but I keep hearing the word particle acceleration. This is a play on words. Like our particles are accelerating, no matter how we associate that word with a negative reference. In actuality, we are launching ourselves into a much bigger and deeper chain, I'm hearing of triglycerides, of events, and I'm hearing event horizon. So while some of this other stuff is going on, we're simultaneously bringing in the good to balance that out. And part of this is, I keep hearing again, the video that I did called the placebo effect. I think I posted that. Yes, I did, maybe a week ago or so. And also creativity. So the more we give ourselves the nutrients that we need, that we know we need, the more we'll be able to absorb the nutrients and neutrinos and the photonic light that's coming in and cascading through our entire I'm hearing innerverse. And the more we're able to then utilize our inner resources, such as the clairs. I just did a video called Claire something, Claire. So it's clear. It's play on words, right? The more we clear out so that we can be clairaudient, clear voyant, clear seeing, clear hearing, clear thinking, clear knowing, clear feeling. Maybe one, maybe all of those things are coming into play. This also has to do with all of the superpowers that we as humans have access to that we haven't necessarily been taught or that we're starting to remember now, right? And so it opens us up to receive more and to become stronger receptors. And then our receptors in our body become stronger as well. And the receptivity opens. So this is kind of a reorganization that's happening in our body and that my guides keep and continually talking about. So I'll in case you didn't see my previous video, I would invite you to check out the links that I provided in, especially the one with Dr. David Clements has some great interviews. And I love listening to certain teachers. I love Lee Harris. I will do a video or I'll write out a meditation that download that I've been receiving. And then inevitably it'll line up or match up with other energy workers, which we're all energy workers, but you know what I mean, in the field that are doing similar things to what I'm doing on a different level. Obviously, Lee Harris is on a much bigger level and platform than I am, but I'm still tuning into the same things he's tuning into in a very different way. And so we each have our own specialized way of interpreting the information that's coming in. And I'm not comparing myself to him, but what I am saying is we all have this. We're all receiving these activations and downloads. How we use them is completely up to us. It's different for everyone. But I love being able to tune in, and I still look at other teachers. I'm like, wow, I want to be as clear as they are. I want to be able to share the information I get in that way so that it's very understandable and digestible. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm there yet. My guidance team likes to play with words in such a way that it's kind of rhymey and it has more to do with the sound and the linguistics rather than the actual message sometimes in real clarity that somebody like Lee Harris might share. So that's okay. I'm not here to be him, and I'm not here to be some, astrologist or anything else. I'm just here to be me. So I'm sharing this because I'm encouraging everyone to tap into your inner creativity. Sometimes I can get discouraged because I see someone like Lee or Dr. David Clements or Pam Gregory or somebody who's got this incredible background and really 30 years of experience. And sometimes we, as little light workers, can look at those people and say, wow, that's something that I'll never necessarily achieve, or I wish I could be, or whatever it might be. And my guides are like, we need each and every one of us, no matter how small, no matter how seemingly small, to make that ripple effect in the pond, in the ocean, because we are those ripples. So again, I'm just encouraging other people out there who maybe you're just not feeling intuitive. It takes work sometimes, it takes patience, and you don't have to have some big platform to share whatever it is that you're receiving or you feel like sharing. The guides are like, do this because you enjoy doing it. Do it with the placebo effect that you know that you're going to have a positive effect or positive impact on others around you, and also because of the positive impact and effect that it has on your own body. So I'm tying this all in because this is what I experience in my reality. And I just really honor those other teachers who are on the journey who've kind of paved the way for people like myself and people maybe like yourself tuning in to help us have validation on what we're receiving, to encourage us to keep going. And so I highly encourage everybody to watch those teachers. If I haven't already shared their links before, you can look them up on YouTube, and they're incredible. And there's so many more. I'm just throwing these couple names out because these have been coming into my awareness more regularly. And what happens is I get these key words that stand out, right? And then I realize, oh, we're speaking the same message, just in a slightly different language. And so I can gain understanding of what I'm even saying and interpret it in a different way by listening to other people and their interpretations of it. So it's just about us coming together in the community of the family of the human, we'll say. Okay, so let's just kind of tune in and see what the guides have to share in general that might be helpful for the collective. So as we share in this tune, if you will, in this type of tone, in this type of format, we format the words and we format the energy in such a way that the tonalities and little tinctures is what I'm hearing can be picked up on. We tune in to a different technology, if you will. An auditory response is felt essentially through not only the inner ears, but the network that is the body. For within the human template is a language, if you will, a spelling. Oh, that's a play on words. And through this spelling and this play on linguistics and alphabetic signature quality of sound, a certain frequency is displayed or put up on the marquee, if you will, the marquee board, the playing board. And it allows us to make different moves with the messages that are coming through. We utilize in this particular collective of energies of guides and angelic frequencies and galactic patterns and weavings, if you will, or cosmic characters, sing like Hyoka, and also the Kachina, and anyways, clowns, that presents and gives out an array of frequency and sound and energy that is shared through the frequency of sound. And so however you choose to interpret it will be up to the individual interpretation, play on words, the ability to play with the words. And each individual has a unique way of hearing, understanding, and feeling the words. For when we share these words, certain pictures are displayed on your own inner marquee that will be different and expressed differently on another person's marquee from within. So certain patterns from within are utilized to create an abundance of activations, if you will, within the human template. And so we would invite you to notice and be aware of your own temples, templates, and human body technology, skin suit adaptations, and frequency repatterning. For each of you is being activated in a myriad of ways. Each of you is tuning in and actively integrating sequences of information that you are absorbing, hearing, seeing, sensing, and tuning into on a regular basis. We would invite you to utilize your own sound. Feel what that resonance feels like. The longevity behind the coherence that you are able to hold on to creates a frequency board that allows for your own frequency to be transmitted in a much more conducive, co-creative, and higher vibrational way. It has more impact, one might say. So I might come back and I might just stay in flow and come back and share what that means exactly so you can interpret it accordingly. So we are choosing currently, as we share in this currency, in this particular stream of information and energy, in this particular video transmission, if you will, we are choosing to play with words. For when the channeler or the speaker or the listener or the feeler or the seer or the dancer, sorry, you guys, when I tune in, I open, my whole brain is opening and I'm tuning into all of these beautiful frequencies and energies, and it's just fun. This particular being, me, is sharing this energy in such a way that it can be felt, ideally, yet it can also be seen, heard, and sensed in different ways, just as your clair senses are also utilized in different ways. When we share a word, it comes with a picture for most. For some, they hear the intonation or the incantation of the words, and that stimulates something within the body. That might stimulate something within the memory, which then launches into the visionary or the cerebral or the cerebellum or the whatever. I'm being shown all the parts of the brain light up. And for different people, it's highlighted in different ways. So I'm going to speak some light language as a for instance right now. And as I speak this, I'm being called to invite you to feel. Do you see something? Do you feel something? Does it make you have a thought? Does it make you have a question? So on and so forth. And just recognizing that without any judgment. Kia o shi makukua e shi anaha. Kiwa shi wo akua he nini shi muko he in a ish ak aina. Yet ushene kua hai mako et iniki shi hai ini wahish ik uahai ima makuni ni ashini. Kuaha initi ish ukua mahai it yeshuku yana hak uaheshi makai ini ni akai wawaha inishua. And so this is one example of a sound and a frequency board. One might say each of you has your own dialect, dialogue that you share and express with and through. And in duush ima ak iniki kai it I ishikuya hai inini kai mana ninik waha ish ik I hiniki ik iwaha inini kai nene ish ik e hene. We share different tonations of the same dialect, and yet at times we shift the dialect with different tonations and intonations and incantations to allow the ink, if you will, through the fluid signature of sound to flow through the pen, or let us say open, to that calligraphy, if you will, the font, the signature that is held within that cup that spilleth over in the ink well, the wellspring that has sprung from the vocal column, the vocal cords. And so each and every one of us is being invited to use our own dance with our own sound song, dance with the sound and the songs that feel good in vibrancy, the inner vibrancy, the inner ability to bring forward a vibrant way of seeing and interpreting reality. Be creative, feel the influctuations as you listen to the incantations. And this is not necessarily in reference to just this song. We are referencing when you turn on the radio and you listen to music. How does it make you feel? Is it something that you are just playing in the background that is actually pulling you down? Is it actually something that your body is telling you no, but your mind is overriding those sensations and feelings that are your inner intuition and form of interpretation that you may have put on the back burner, that you may have not necessarily recognized is on fire, that you may not recognize has not been turned on for a while? So they're playing with this. I'm being shown like it could be either. It could be the music. You would need more music in your life and you're just ignoring that. Or it could be that the music that you're playing is actually lowering your frequency, but it's a popular song, so you feel like you have to listen to it. So on and so forth. Like, oh, I should listen to this because it's the top, or it's just playing in the background, but we don't recognize it because but it's still there, whether we recognize it or not. So I'm being shown distraction, distortion, all of that. And we would invite you to tune into what is playing in the background. For oftentimes these distractions and distortions is what is keeping us away from hearing our own song that is playing in the background. And they're telling me stop and share an example. So I've shared this example before, but since you may be the first time you're listening to this story, when I first started having these downloads, or it wasn't even that I necessarily knew what messages were coming through. I would be laying in my bed at night. Well, the light language started while I was just going on walks or driving my car. All of a sudden I would have I would start coughing or just making these weird noises that I just felt like I needed to make. And what I realized is I had been blocking them, thinking something was wrong with me. And then one day it was like, the sound came out and I went, what is that? And so I just rolled with it. Now, that's when the light language started coming through. And I also recognized it. But before I recognized and started making the sounds, I also recognized that I was hearing it in the background. So this is what they're referring to. I have goosebumps everywhere. So some of you guys, a lot of people are activating this. They're openly starting to have this happen and they're not recognizing it. So I thought to myself, how many years have I been doing energy work of whatever sort it was and not recognized that this language was playing in the background? And it's almost like this is the whole statement of like Jesus talks about in the Bible, with eyes to see and with ears to hear. It's like we have to turn on our inner ear for us to make that connection that changes our perception of what and the direction of what we're focusing on. So I could play with this. And so they're also sharing with me another example is when I would wake up in the middle at 3 a.m. and I'd be laying there thinking, what woke me up? And all these thoughts would be going through my head, you know, oh, I've got to do this tomorrow. I've got to run this errand. I have this client. I hope this. I hope this. But behind all that noise and all that chatter, once you kind of take those thoughts and move them off to the side, this is why meditation is so important. There was poems. There was another voice, my higher self, right? That I started listening to, and I started writing it down. And that's when I started having all of this information coming through. It's been there the whole time. I just hadn't been listening. So this is what they're calling me to share with you guys. A third thing they just said, and I forgot. Well, this happens for all the clairs, the feelings, right? That tends to be one people pick up on a lot faster. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this person's emotions. I'm having. So we'll maybe go into that a little deeper in another video. So if we are not turning down the music that someone else is playing, or even the songs that we have been playing in the background that cover up, I'm hearing white noise, the deeper sound, we will never learn to listen, or we will never listen and hear what it is that we have actually already learned. Oftentimes we ask questions and wait for answers from an outside source, or we're listening with a certain level of I'm hearing like shallow, lack of depth. So again, it's like you might hear a sound. It's like I don't have the right microphone. I keep trying to find the right microphone. If you guys have one you can recommend, I would greatly appreciate it. I have this raspberry mic and I have this, but there's overtones and undertones and different sounds that I make when I'm doing healing sessions. I'm trying to figure out a way to get those so I can record them and offer them on my site, but it's taking me some time to do that. Anyways, I digress. So there's a lot going on in our multisensory abilities that are coming online that we are actively receiving, yet we are not necessarily actively recognizing, acknowledging, right? What I always say is raw RA. So we're not necessarily doing that. And then it's just kind of sitting there out in the ethers, right? So for those of you who are seeking answers, it is okay to ask for sources outside of yourself. For when we ask the questions, we may receive the answers in a variety of ways. And that variety offers us a way of looking within. We actually see a different perspective. We might have more insight to something that we are unable to differentiate because we are lost in our own inner turmoil. When someone else from an outside source offers a different pattern, a different observation, another perspective, it allows us to shift and rearrange what we are thinking about, how we are thinking about it, and oftentimes allows us to open up into another objective perspective. I'm also being shown that sometimes it can have the opposite effect and we can go, no, this doesn't resonate with me at all. And other times we think, well, I don't know why this person has shared that with me, like a psychic or a medium or an intuitive or a coach or a therapist. But even if we disagree with it, it still gives us an opportunity to have movement. That is different than stagnation. We're actually openly operating. We're listening. We're agreeing. We're disagreeing. We're asking questions of ourselves. It shifts the patterns, no matter what, into a different pattern. And that in itself is movement that offers us a different frequency. And coming back to the pen and ink, it's like switching from the right hand and you're starting to write with your left hand and you're going, oh, that doesn't feel right, but you're at least giving it a shot. So we end on this note for this particular sharing of information and energy. And we wish to go back to the word play. Okay, literally the word play is what I'm hearing. Okay, again, guys like to play with words and language because it's a technology. It's that's what they call it. So it means to move around quickly. The word's meaning has evolved over time. Performance, action, amusement. game, sport, skirmish, or battle. So we're being called to play with this. Play. So what they're just talking about is movement and to take part in something, to be proactive, to actively engage is what I'm hearing. So it's like we're being invited to actively engage with ourselves. And this says put forward, right? To lay out on the table so we can see more clearly. We're looking at what we have available to us. So there's lots of ways to play with this. Now, they're also using this as a way for me to share with you how I interpret the words. When I tune into my higher self, my guidance team, source energy, guides, galactics, angels, all of that, for me, it's a collective of beings and energies. What I'm doing is it's like a pattern, and I can use different symbols and words to create a puzzle that holds together a frequency or a coordinate on a map, is what they call it. And then from that coordinate on the map, they're using right now what I'm seeing is a Rubik's Cube as an example. So let's say you have this Rubik's Cube and it's all mixed up and you have a yellow square over here and the other yellow is over here. It connects them through this cube, and you can utilize both ports as a different understanding, but it's all held within the same cube. So I'm able to then utilize the words as a way of interpreting a higher system of energy and frequency that I may not have the vocabulary for. So when I have crazy words that come through that when I look them up, they're having to do with quantum physics. But sometimes I hear them specifically literally. Other times I see it as patterns and I might map in a completely different meaning than what the word actually means. So that's just an example. And I'm using it that way because I have fun with it. Somebody else might go, okay, that's way too complicated. But for me, I can feel my brain activating when I do it. It's like, have you ever used those the word games where you like move the letters around and you create different words? I'm really not that good at those, which is ironic. I doesn't make it up my own words. So let us play with this pattern for a moment. Let us redirect our senses into a vocabulary held within this Rubik's Cube, if you will, within this ruby domain, if you will, within this domain of crystal latticework structure and frequency of a chain or a multiplicity, a way to view multiple realities encapsulated within a certain frequency of tones, letters, and a chain. They keep talking about chains. I'm seeing literally a ball and then a chain and then a ball and then a chain and a ball. Recognizing that as we use the word ball and chain, for example, how many different meanings does that conjure up for you? Some people conjure it up as an old way of keeping somebody imprisoned. Other people compare it to the old ball and chain, right? The wife or the husband or the spouse or the partner, which is not necessarily a positive reference. You could take it literal and see it as a ball with a chain. And in this case, we are recognizing that it is a sphere of energy mixed in with the chain, which is actually a braid that ties together these balls and frequencies together in a stream of language and vocabulary. And so that is a perfect example of loosely using language and transcription as a way of transcribing what is written on the DNA. For we can take that pattern now and tune into a line of information that was led here by the words ball and chain. And now I am redirecting my focus and energy to a particular chain of words and vocabulary that lights up in the dictionary of the DNA. And as I dictate to this, or I become the ability to take dictation, and I tune into this display on my own inner marquee board, it gives me access to the key. And it puts a mark on my belt, if you will. It marks a particular, as I say that, I'm seeing Orion's belt. it maps into a particular star system. It creates a shape, and now I'm seeing a star. And from within that shape, from the cube to the star, to the circle, to the sphere, to the chain, we are moving through a whole chain of different categories with which we can tune into. That gives us the ability to tune into a hyperset of modulations within the field and organizations or templates that allow us to tune in through the temple or the higher temples of categorization of ways of interpretation of different dominions and access points within reality structures. This is all done through the temple of the body. And yet it is done, I'm hearing it is undone or undoing certain knots and coagulations and certain sketches that have been causing lack of completion. So what I'm being shown is, that's all a play on words, and that was a little scrambled, but what I'm being shown is like, it lights up the marquee board and I'm able to see these letters, and then I can pick up on those letters and then rearrange them within a different frequency set that matches the frequency of what message is trying to come through. This enhances my vocabulary and allows me to tune into words that I would not necessarily then otherwise be known to me, if that makes sense. And it creates a pattern. We are able to link in with the pattern. And because of this pattern, we're able to observe more patterns because we hold this metrodome, if you will, or this, I don't know if that's what it's called, but this rhythm, if you will. And this rhythm creates a pattern. And because of this, we are able to tune in more quickly, with more frequency, with more frequencies, more frequently. We are able to address or put a name to, or put an address to, or create a pin on a map, or tune into the different belts, if you will, the conveyor belts that keep the letters and the sentences moving, that are connected to the stars, that are connected to the maps and the patterns held within the star system, the network that is within the star system. Okay, it's a play on words. So I'm seeing literally the shape of a star. So I wouldn't say a pentagram, but it's like just that, all the points on a star. It doesn't have to be, they're saying it doesn't have to be a one-dimensional display. It's actually a multi-dimensional. Ooh, I'm seeing a really cool star. It's like a snowflake star. I don't know, maybe like the mother star, star mother. If you guys have ever checked out Dan Winter, again, everybody I share names on this video doesn't mean I agree with everything that they transmit either, just like they wouldn't necessarily agree with everything I share, but I do find value in taking what resonates for me. And I love, he has a picture of a star. I think he calls it the star mother. I can't remember exactly if that's a state of coherence or what that is. It's been a while since I've looked into his work, but I would invite you guys to check it out if you feel called. Okay. And as we map into this sequence of alignments within the photonic space of energetic containment, we might say, we are able to contain or hold in this container certain patterns. And we then coordinate within those patterns to isolate certain stronger sounds that are pinging, if you will, in the map of the multidimensional framework that we as a collective of energies are currently accessing, all through this one particular entity that is me. You guys, so as I'm sharing that message, I just see the coordinates. I see like a Google map, basically, of all of these different areas in the galaxy and beyond, the multidimensional streams of energy that we have access to, and the coordinates that when I tune into those places, now I'm hearing, even though I walk through the valley in the shadow, it's like, I'm not afraid because I'm in that state of coherence and in my heart space, and my brain, it feels so good to be able to say, I see you, I feel you, let's play. Wow, this means this and this means that. And what they're trying to show me all in all is that all of it's working together. And so if we tune into something that's really, really, really far away, right? Like Einstein talks about that spooky action at a distance. It's just quantum. It's all connected. It's that one field that we're all connected through. And it gives us an ability to then feel into those different tunes that we're not used to experiencing, that we're not used to feeling. And what I'm being shown is the value in us being creative and opening up all these connection points is it enhances our resources, because then we're able to utilize those different places. That's the only way I can describe it: spaces, energy fields, dominions, domains, planets, star systems. And we're able to then pull in that energy and information that could be useful for our future now. And that's a play of words too. What I'm hearing is it helps us to, that some of those places are in the future, right? Andromeda, I'm tuning into Andromeda for an example now. But that version of maybe what I'm tuning into is far advanced, but it's also connected to the past through this star system, through this map. So it's like we're just becoming more of that portal energy. And then when we utilize it in a creative fashion, it literally, what I'm being shown is they were referencing ink earlier. That ink is another, and calligraphy, that is another example of what I'm hearing when I say, and I'll give it for instance, calligraphy. I'm hearing Khalil, isn't that Superman? But it's like the drip down, the Santa Claus down the chimney. It's the pineal gland and the pituitary gland and like all of the cerebral spinal fluid, the CSF, moves through the body and creates a more enhanced conductivity. And so then we're able to access these different pieces of ourselves. Because even though I'm tuning into this collective of frequencies and energies, it's not outside of me. I am the vessel and the portal that's actively connecting with it. And these are all through, this is what I have access to in my, because of my DNA. But what I'm hearing is it's because of my patterning, because of my curiosity, because of my desire to play in that way. That's how it comes through me. And also I'm just hearing enhanced technology. So what the reason I'm bringing it through in this way is it activates those different places within whoever's listening or feeling into this for them in a different way. It may not be the same. Like if I'm talking to someone and they have really deep connection to, let's say, and by the way, I'm being called, just don't even worry about trying to explain it, Carrie. Like they're just like, let's save that for another time because it is so multidimensional. So we will really end on this note. We are accessing a streamlined network of high quality sound. All of us. Now I'm saying we as in my frequency, but we all are. All we need to do is listen. All we need to do is tune in regularly. And when we do that, we create, I'm being shown through a coherent state. We create that resonance, that resin that creates a longer wave, right? Dan Winters talks about the long wave, and creates this ability to then open, expand, be more creative, have more ideas, communicate with our team, our higher self, our galactic brothers and sisters, our future versions of us, our ancestors that are on the other side of what we can see in this particular frequency, loved ones who have passed on, the past, the ancient past, right? All so on and so forth. And then I'm hearing an even more than what I'm describing here. So I'm just going to kind of end on that note. What I was playing with the calligraphy was the call, and I was seeing everything gets then put on a graph. Like if you picture a graph, and then I've used this before, like it gets graphed in like a skin graph, and it becomes part of our regular resonance. It becomes, when we have something that's in resonance, it becomes more of our reality structure. And when we co-create in that way with these guides and beings who are here to assist us, who are inside of us at a cellular level, our mitochondria, we can see it on a graph, and we can actually, what I'm being shown is, and that graph is like a Rubik's Cube as an example, and then I'm seeing a star inside the Rubik's Cube. We get to touch many different points that we didn't have access to because it's like this growing snowflake. And then we can see it. It begins to become available to us visually, not necessarily in the way we think. It's more visually in the sense we start to see it as a result in our everyday lives. And again, I'm hearing impact. We start to have a greater impact on the people around us, but we start to see it, meaning we start to see, wow, my reality has changed. It's not that we are necessarily able to see our guides, and some people can. I can see them at times, but I'm hearing on that note, just briefly, our guides don't look like we think they do sometimes. So because we're looking for our guides to look a certain way, we don't see them. And that has to do with our linear thinking. So once we start to become more multidimensional in our thinking, we'll start to recognize that some of the energies that we're tuning into don't have a shape that we would think they would. Sometimes they're just pure light. Sometimes they're just pure sound. So, or they're little teeny tiny sparkles, or they're so big that we can't conceptually recognize that they're completely surrounding this whole earth, as an example. I mean, logos, and anyways. So again, I'm just hearing letting go of the need to judge or assume what they're going to look like or sound like, and just be open. And then we can see it, and we're able to actually say, when they show me the graph, it's like, okay, in 2020, this is what it was like. And now here it is in 2025. And wow, I can see on this graph, based in my reality, how far I've come, or what I've learned, or what I've let go of. And it becomes much more apparent as things become more transparent, and we are able to then see through the I could say so many things: the distractions, the green screen, the false bubbles of reality that are just being projected. We can see through them. And it doesn't, again, mean literally we see through it and we're like, oh, I see the matrix. We just see what's going on behind it. Or we feel like, you know what? That's something's off about that. Right? So it's subtleties is what I'm being called to say. Don't forget, the magic is in the mundane. I'm going to end on that note. In love and light, guys. Have fun co-creating, drop in, just do some breath work, get grounded. Hopefully this was helpful for someone. In love and light. Namaste.